The England and Ireland teams are out then. I'm going to go through each side in turn for the fixture at Twickenham in round 4 of the Six Nations 2024. I'm going to pick a combined 23-man squad. How many Englishmen and how many Irishmen will make that side? Find out in a minute. And do stick around for the end of the video as well, because I've got a lovely addition to the historical video I did on this fixture the other day, which is in the channel with the rest of them. And hopefully by the end of this video, I might have earned your subscription. I would love it if I would. And please leave your comments down below on the teams, starting with England. And the headline, Emmanuel Faye-Waboso gets his first start for England. He was played for a couple of minutes, then he got no minutes. Then he got 19 minutes last week and scored a try. Now he's there from the start. Elliot Daly on the bench as a consequence. George Martin starts as well. He also had a bit of an impact coming off the bench against Scotland. Ethan Roots, after starting, is now out of the matchday squad. And George Ford starts. Marcus Smith, fit again, takes his place on the bench. And Alex Mitchell, the final selection, big call anyway, he starts. And Danny Kerr is on 99 caps and should get his 100th appearance for England at Twickenham in this match, with George Furbank continuing at fullback and still no more Freddie Stewart. Now, other than Marcus Smith, this is exactly the team that I picked the other day when I was looking ahead to this fixture. What do you think of it? Obviously, because it's the team that I picked, even down to Alex Donbrant on the bench. I'm pretty happy with it. So let's go through it in the pack. I'm absolutely certain now, I've mentioned this for a few weeks, I'm absolutely certain now that it's deliberate what Steve Borthwick is doing with his props. He is only starting Dan Cole or Joe Marler, not the two at the same time, because he's splitting England's best scrummaging units. The set piece has been pretty good. They've got a big test against Ireland tomorrow. The second row, back row combination is interesting. You've got the 3 line-out options. The second row on the flank, Ollie Chesham, as I thought he would be, shunted across to 6. Operating in the way that Courtney Lawes did for England. I think that gives him good balance. Ollie Chesham is a really good player. He is not Courtney Lawes. So that distribution of labour, other people are going to still have to step up and replicate what Courtney Lawes did give to England. And I think that's the message for England. It's not about what one individual player can do. It's about what workload can they spread across the whole 8, because they're going to have their hands full against Ireland. As for the back line, in my team, building up to this, I did select Marcus Smith, but I can totally understand why Steve Borthwick is persisting with George Ford, who is excellent. He is an absolutely outstanding fly half. Whichever England player wears 10 on their back, they're going to be class. And Marcus Smith hasn't played for, 5-6 weeks now. So you can understand easing him back into the setup. I'm really pleased, that it isn't too reactive from Steve Borthwick. The one thing that you look at the Ireland team, and we'll come to them in a minute, and you look at South Africa, and you look at the top teams, cohesion is that word that gets used a lot. There are relationships which have taken years to cultivate, and chopping and changing all the time, especially in the midfield. And a lot of people were calling for Henry Slade's head as well as Elliot Daly's, and I'm totally against that for this reason. You cannot keep changing the combinations. And I think the centre position for England particularly, there's a lot of people that were thinking Tommy Freeman should be moved to 13, where he finished the game against Scotland. I'm not an advocate of that. I'm definitely an advocate of Tommy Freeman being a centre. I was asking for that before this season. And I think he could be England's answer at 12, to be perfectly honest, long term. But I don't want that to happen now. England have had so few games where they've had the same midfield partnership, consecutive matches, that we have to have that. And Henry Slade and Ollie Lawrence are great players. They did not play well last week. Ollie Lawrence in particular was really poor, but we know how good he can be. And hopefully a bit of freedom and he can play. And Emmanuel Faye-Waboso, I also don't want to fall into the trap of hyping him up too much. We have to remember, as electric as he seems, he is in his first full season of senior rugby with Exeter Chiefs. I worked on the Premiership Cup last year, and I was really taken with how special he looked. But he wasn't in the Exeter first team until this season. He's only played a handful of first 15 starts at Premiership level. So let's temper what we're expecting of him, because the media particularly fall into that trap. So let's not do it here. And I'm really happy that George Furbank is continuing for exactly the same reason as I talked about with the midfield. You can't just pick a guy, then it doesn't go exactly how you want, and then you drop a guy for the next game. That cannot be how we operate. What I like about this, and talking about the word cohesion, Mitchell, Freeman, Furbank, 3 Northampton Saints in the same back line, that's got to add something. And I'm really excited about the dynamic that Alex Mitchell can bring to this game. I think maybe Danny Care is a bit lucky to keep his spot in the matchday squad, because I didn't think he had a great game last week, and Ben Spencer did nothing wrong when he came on. But again, talking about cohesion, and this is the reason why in my team that I picked the other day, or a while back, Alex Dombrandt was on the bench, is because 8, 9, 10 Harlequins. That's massive. In the back line, 3 Northampton Saints. On the bench, well, and if you count Cunningham South as well, 4 Harlequins to bring up, 5 Harlequins with Joe Marler to bring off the bench. That is important. That stuff matters. So I'm quite happy with that. Tell me what you think. Leave your comment down below. If you haven't already, give the video a thumbs up. Costs you nothing, takes you no time, but it helps spread the word. Helps me reach other rugby fans. Over to Ireland. And Hugo Keenan back. That's the big news. Kieran Frawley onto the bench, and his versatility allows that 6-2 split to continue. Well, that does mean I don't get to dust off my Northern Irish accent again. Bag Stuart McCloskey. But I suppose I can say Berge and Henderson. At least Ulster are represented in this matchday squad once again. But what that does mean is James Ryan is surplus to requirements. That is quite something, isn't it? And the thing is, that's not even a criticism of James Ryan. He will be bitterly disappointed, I've no doubt, because he's a competitor. He's a winner. But imagine, and you look around the Six Nations, no other country would leave James Ryan out of their starting 15, let alone out of their matchday squad. A measure of where Ireland are at. Really pleased that Ian Henderson's got a shot. And Ireland's line-out at times has creaked a little bit, and I think Ian Henderson is actually, in line-out terms, pure set-piece terms, which England will be attacking, especially with Chess and Martin and Itoje. I think Hendo is a guy that can sort that out. On the bench as well, Finlay Bealham is back in out after paternity leave. And you've got just everything very, very settled. That pack just picks itself at the minute, doesn't it? It's a lovely place to be. And then you look on the bench at guys like Ryan Baird and Jack Conan. It's frightening. Aki and Henshaw, despite the fact one of our Ireland's best players, Gary Ringrose, is not there. Aki and Henshaw, those old Connacht boys, back together again and continuing their partnership. It's not fair. And Jack Crowley at 10, big game for him again. It's going to be an interesting matchup with George Ford and at Twickenham, where, you know, Ireland are comfortably the best team in this championship. England are not as good as they can be, but Twickenham, a formidable place to go, and England will fancy it, and they'll want to put a lot of pressure on Jack Crowley. Here's a question. Here's a thought though, and the more I see the Ireland teams announced, and particularly the bench, Jack Crowley, the one thing he has got over Johnny Sexton is that he frees up Andy Farrell to choose 6 forwards on the bench if he wishes. That was not something Ireland were in a position to do when Johnny Sexton was in the team, but the versatility that you've got, and Jack Crowley is part of that, means that you can, because you've got guys that can slot into multiple positions. Hugo Keenan back is absolutely massive, isn't it? There we go. And the other one, Joe McCarthy up against George Martin. I really want the two of them to just have a big collision at some point, because I don't know who would win in that one, but I know I want to see it, because those two are two of the bright young stars in this competition, in rugby, in world rugby. They are two enforcers in the locks, and I can't wait to see that matchup as well. So as for a combined 23, predictably, it stays very green. Although there are some green shoots. Well, I mean red shoots for England, because I think England have got something they can get a hold of. Particularly, I think the pack's going to be competitive, and I think England have got a good bench to come on. And it's actually the bench that I think is the bit that gives me the most heart when I look at the two 23-man squads. I do think England have a little something, maybe even an edge, off the bench. I think they can do a little something. So I think the mission for England is, can you stay in the fight for 50, 60 minutes? That is usually when Ireland have the killer blow. They've tired their opponents out, played the multi-phase rugby so much that you're out on your feet, and then they put the sucker punch in when you're on the ropes in the last 10 minutes. That tends to be how Ireland do it. But can England hang in there? They've got Aled Waters, the conditioning coach. There's going to be a big test of him as well. What shape has he got these England boys in, and can they cope with the intensity that Ireland are going to bring? If England can stay in contact with 20 minutes to go, I think they've got a shot. I just worry Ireland may have already put them away by then. Ben Earl is the sole member of the pack that I've got in a combined team, and that's by juggling the pack around. Caelan Doris to flanker. And I didn't actually mean to put Henry Slade in there at centre. But no, I didn't actually mean to do that. I meant to put Robbie Henshaw in there. Well, what the heck, I'll go with it. Henry Slade. Fine, slate me in the comments if you want for that. I love Henry Slade. Tommy Freeman I did mean to put in over Calvin Nash. Absolutely. I think Tommy Freeman is class. And on the bench, Joe Marler, great scrummaging prop to come off the bench. And Danny Kerr, Marcus Smith, Elliot Daly. Sorry to Robbie Henshaw. Didn't mean that. So 3 Englishmen technically. But there we go. I've got 4 in. You get the general gist. Ireland are favourites despite being away from home. One final thing before I go. I said I wanted to add to the video that I did the other day. If you haven't seen it, I did a video in the channel of why this fixture is so special, some of the great moments, and I loved reading the comments that came in. Thank you for that. Do get stuck in down below. I do read them, and I do take them on, and I learned a lot. I wasn't aware of the game that happened in the Five Nations, as it was then, back in 1973. But it was great to hear about a match that happened between Ireland and England at Lansdowne Road, and this was at the height of the Troubles in Ireland. A really heightened political situation such that Scotland and Wales refused to travel to Dublin to play their games. England, however, decided to go. John Pullen there leading his England team out. They went, despite the political backdrop and the tenseness of despite having to live under armed guard while they were in Dublin, they agreed to travel. They went out onto the pitch and they got the most amazing reception from the crowd at Lansdowne Road, who thoroughly appreciated and wanted to show that appreciation for the England team for going to Lansdowne Road, just for turning up, irrespective of the result. Ireland actually won the game 18 points to 9 as it happened. But England, those players on that day won the hearts of the Irish rugby faithful because they were there. And here's the lovely little touch as well. This is beautiful. I loved it when I read about this. So John Pullen led his England team out onto the pitch, and the Irish team stood back for 4 whole minutes because they understood the significance, and they were appreciative enough that they wanted the England team to have their moment on the Lansdowne Road pitch. Isn't that fantastic? I didn't know about that, and I love learning about it. And if that's got you interested and you haven't seen the video that I did the other day, get in the feed and go and check it out. And hopefully I've earned your subscription. I would love it if you would. Give the video a thumbs up, leave your comments. See you on the next one. I will be at Twickenham, by the way, for England versus Ireland, so keep an eye out on all the content coming through the day.